started. So, welcome everyone. My name is Brandi. I am currently interning with Andrea here at the University of Florida Polk Extension office and IFAS Extension office. So today we will be going over small changes towards the bigger goal. So the goal of this presentation is to implement small manageable changes to reach your wellness goals. And some people may think that it's a little counterproductive on the basis that we tend to want things to happen quickly. However, we will be talking about in ways that we can implement these small changes to assist with reaching your wellness goals. So the ultimate goal is always smaller changes that can turn into healthier habits. So I want to first start by saying that, of course, this is working. Okay, I want to first start by saying that we are an equal opportunity institution here at UF IFAS Extension office, and we also strive to reach a diverse audience. So if you have any questions, definitely feel free to reach out about that. So coming up to our first slide, there are tips from the American Psychological Association on how to begin your journey. So there's a few steps we have here. The first step, of course, you always want to make a plan. Start small, change one thing at a time, and it's always good to have a buddy along the way. So that leads us into actually making a plan. So the purpose of a plan is to allow you to have everything you need in order to succeed, all mapped out, so there's no guessing involved. So can I ask a question? Has anyone ever heard of a SMART plan? I mean, if you can locate the chat box and enter in a green check mark, that would be great. If you ever heard of a SMART plan. Okay. Thank you. Okay, so and that's fine. So today I will briefly go over that information. First, I want to say that generally the most challenging part of change is staying committed and following through. So having a thought out plan always reminds you of the why, like why you started, and it's a great way to stay motivated. So back to the SMART plan. A SMART plan is actually an acronym for specific, meaningful and measurable, attainable, realistic, or relevant, and time bound. So you always want to be specific about the health and wellness goals that you reach, meaningful and measurable. Think about the why you want to achieve these health goals and what are ways in which you can measure your process or your progress. And attainable, what are specific steps you will take to achieve your goals? And it's always good to be realistic. So be realistic about the goals that you set. And, setbacks often occur because sometimes your goals can be a little too unrealistic. So it's always good to stay realistic about those. And then the last T for time bound, give yourself a realistic amount of time to achieve those goals that you've chosen for yourself. At the end of the presentation, we will be sending out a survey, and also I'll be adding a guide as to the SMART goals so you can have a list of what they are and how to achieve those, and that will help with setting up your plan. And that takes us into our next slide with starting small. If I can know how to work this thing. So starting small. So you want to do the things you enjoy. Just add a healthy spin to it. We always want to do the things we enjoy because that helps us, move further in the progress and make it a lifetime change instead of just a one and done goal. So in order to reach the bigger goal, take smaller steps, and making smaller changes can make the journey more achievable, maintainable, and less cumbersome. Again, the goal should be realistic. it's your journey and not someone else's journey. So the goal is always to remember that your journey is your own. Okay, and let's see. That will take us into the next slide. Sorry about that. We have a youth fair going on, so it could be loud in the background.
Don't hear anything in the background at all.
No, okay. That's a good thing.
If you just place your cursor over the slide and click, it will advance to the next slide.
You see my cursor going everywhere, sorry. Okay, so these are some suggestions that I have set up in reference to some small changes that we can implement. First, I want to start with meal prepping. So meal prepping is always helps you maintain your goals. It keeps you from eating out and snacking because you will have your meals ready and available. Next one is don't eliminate all the things you like. It's always good to keep things you like within your diet or within your wellness goals, and that keeps you happy about the changes that you're making without eliminating everything that you enjoy. Also, another option would be to portion out your food items. Most of the time when we shop, things come in bulk and with multiple serving sizes. So breaking those down into single serving sizes helps you keep track of the calories that you're intaking. Then you have increasing water. We all, I think, struggle with increasing our water intake. And by doing that, to increase the water intake, we can always add like a low calorie, low sugar additive to the water if we don't like just plain water. And that can help you increase your daily water intake. Also, I have pictures here of one of the steps that you can take to increase your fruits and vegetable intake. You can try by setting those in plain sight. So therefore, it always reminds you of the goal that you're on. Then also here at the bottom, you have up in the cabinet your snacks. So the things that you enjoy but don't want to overindulge in. So they're up in the counter, up in the cabinet, put away. So therefore, they're not always out in plain sight. And then you can try frozen fruit desserts instead of ice cream. I do have a big ice cream sweet tooth. So what I try to do is my favorite go-to is banana, peanut butter, mixed with some form of dairy milk or almond milk with ice, blended with ice. And that helps me curse my ice cream tooth. And then you can try another change is changing the type of oil that you use. Most of us use vegetable oil, but to make that healthier, we can always switch to olive oil or avocado oil. And then also we can air fry things if you have an air fryer, or if not, we can put things in the oven instead of deep frying. So just to kind of break up the monotony of that, has anyone ever tried any of these or currently do any of these? You can react to the post or react to that question, or you can put a yes or no in the chat box.
Yes.
Okay.
To half, at least.
Thank you.
Maybe more than half.
Okay,
I don't
that's great.
Yeah, I'm not a frozen fruit person, so that's something I probably wouldn't do. But I drink a lot of water. I aim for 10 to 12 glasses, 8-ounce glasses a day.
Perfect.
I don't have an air fryer, but I use my oven.
Okay, that's a good way to start.
And then my food is sitting on the counter.
Okay, great. Okay, and let's see. And also we can try by, if we don't eat too many vegetables, we can try just to be spontaneous, try a new fruit or vegetable each week. That'll give you a nice variety of adding your fruits and vegetables to your diet. I kind of want to give an example. So growing up, Brussels sprouts got a bad rap. Like, I've never eaten Brussels sprouts because of the things that I've heard about kids not liking Brussels sprouts. So I never ate them. But as an adult and recently, I actually absolutely love Brussels sprouts. Like, it's my new favorite vegetable. Caramelized onions with caramelized Brussels sprouts. So it's amazing. So good. Okay. And then that brings us into you can with canned. I like that saying because sometimes people don't think canned foods are a good option, but it is a good option. Just stick to the low sodium selections, and also it can help with time management. Another thing I like to say is to visit your local flea market or farmers market. This can be economical at times, and also it helps with our local growers and farmers market. And then a big tip is to don't shop while you're hungry. We tend to end up with things in our buggy that don't belong when we shop hungry. Okay. And then that takes us to our next slide, which also is more tips on how to, small changes that we can make. So the goal is to keep it simple. The first thing you do in the morning matters. So you always want to start your day on a positive note. Avoid things that you know makes you anxious, upset, like checking your email. If you're on social media, checking your social media, watching the news, or even checking emails for work. Then you have don't think, just do. Most of the times we talk ourselves out of doing the things that we know need to be done. So instead of dwelling on them and thinking about them, just spring into action and get those things done. And that keeps you motivated and keeps you on track. Actually schedule time to get things done. Sometimes we like to fit things in, and if things don't go as planned, we usually end up not completing the task that we have set for ourselves. So actually set the time, schedule the time to get those things done. Then I like motivational alerts. You can set motivational alerts for anything to get you going, like reminder to get up and walk around your desk if you're at work, to get from in front of the screen from your laptop, to put your phone down, to drink water, to go for a walk, or just to take a simple breather, just to, calm, reel yourself in from the day that you're having. So motivational alerts is always good to keep ourselves on track. And that leads us into actually also keeping a journal. Keeping a journal reminds us of why we started the goal. It gives us a tool to kind of look at our progress and see where we are. And also it allows us to see if we need to adjust anything or add anything to our journey. Okay, and then jumping in there, has anyone used any of these or would like to implement and want more information about any of these?
Well, I do say no.
Okay, that's our next one. So we go ahead and jump into that one. So it's okay to say no. Sometimes peer pressure gets the best of us. Our friends want to go hang out. Our friends want to go to the restaurant when we're trying to stay on a strict diet or whatever the case may be. It's actually okay to say no if you think that will hinder your journey. So it's absolutely fine and beneficial. And avoid negative self-talk. So we are definitely sometimes our own worst critics. So it's good to keep positive talk when it's concerning ourselves. You can do it. You can push through this. You deserve this. Things like that to keep you going instead of talking down to yourself, even if it's in a joking manner. Just avoid that at all costs. Then that takes us into positive thinking. I know it's hard and it can be challenging at times, but in a nutshell, it's focusing on the solution and not the problem. So always think of how you can make it right instead of actually focusing on the issue at hand. And then, of course, we all know managing stress is a big one. We can never be truly productive in a stressful state. So if it's unavoidable, use it as a driving force to actually push through a situation instead of dwelling on it or allowing it to hinder you or ruin your day. And then setting a bedtime. So setting a bedtime is a good tool to stay refreshed for the next day. A great morning starts with a great night. So always think about that. And then if you're on a workout journey, setting your clothes by the door or in your car, that helps keeps you focused and on track. Walking after you eat is good for digestion, and it helps get things moving and for you not to feel so full and weighed down. And you can always try new exercises that you can research before doing them so you're comfortable doing them, or going to the gym and doing them there. And then exercise doesn't always have to be boring. You can always crank up the music in your house and just dance around. The goal is just movement, just to stay moving. That takes us to the next slide. So don't go cold turkey. Okay. So from the plan, we want to, looking at the big picture can be intimidating. So what I want you to do is chop it down into smaller pieces and deal with those pieces. So from the plan that you created, choose one behavior or change that relates solely to your goal and work on that until you have completed it. Once you have completed it, then move on to the next one. One step would be to start by attaching an action item to the change that you have chose. So the how. How do I accomplish this? And again, back to being realistic. If you say you want to start running, say you want to run a mile or 5 miles, a plan to run 5 miles a day is just unrealistic. So instead, start by walking, and within that walk, add brief jogging or sprinting, and then build from there until you've met your goal. Also, a really big reminder is to be gentle with yourself. Give yourself the grace to actually form these new habits. Take into consideration how long that you've been doing the things that you're actually wanting to change. So with that in mind, just remember to always be gentle with yourself. And then that takes us into grabbing a buddy. And self-explanatory. Everything is always done or more enjoyable when you have someone to do it with. Pick someone who shares similar goals to yourself and will actually hold you accountable. So you'd rather not pick someone who's going to kind of talk you out of going, eating healthy and, take you to breakfast and eat just calorie dense things. And then also, it's okay to ask for help. In addition to saying no, it's also okay to ask for help. Sometimes it can be a bit difficult. So asking for help just moves the process along. A situation for me is I have a buddy who's not big on cooking. So what I do to help her with her journey is I just provide easy, manageable, healthy, easy to follow meals that she can follow on her own. And then that will take us into our open discussion. So what I was planning on doing is if everyone can drop a change that they would like to make in the chat box, if they don't mind sharing. And what we can do is kind of brainstorm ways that we can help each other reach